This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Welcome everybody, welcome all our Torah Anytime viewers. Tonight's class is sponsored Leilu Nishmat to Efrat Bat Shammai and Adera Bat Azariah. So I have to tell you a little bit of the background on this class. This particular class, if somebody could please, could we add more chairs like somewhere on the side? Thank you. Which is remind me, everybody is invited to our Thursday night's women only class at BJX at 1601 Avenue P on 1601 Quentin Road. Please do not go to 1601 Avenue P. That is a shul that I used to speak at called Ol Moshe. So don't go over there because I'm not speaking there at Thursday nights. But thank you very much. 1601 Quentin Road on Thursday at 8 p.m. Everybody is welcome. Okay. Women only, correct. Thank you. So, the idea behind this class. So, this class we're going to be dealing with Kiruv, with the power and the obligation. We're going to be speaking about a lot of ideas in Kiruv. Now, why? The truth is, I had absolutely no intention about speaking about this class today. In fact, the topic that I sent out originally was supposed to be on the oral law, which will be next week. But that's what I was planning in it. But this past week, I had to speak at a yurtzeit suda, a yurtzeit meal, which is like an annual death of somebody who passed away. They go and they commemorate his memory. They have a meal. They have people speak about Torah. In her memory, it was a woman. So I started speaking about some ideas, which I would like to speak about tonight also. And then it got me thinking, you know what? We should speak about this topic, tonight and not wait. Now, if you realize that the series that we've been going for the past couple of weeks or couple of months, if you're counting, is we're dealing with proving that there is a God, proving also that God is, that not only there is a God, but God is actively running the world. Not only is God actively running the world, there must be a religion. Not only is there a religion, but the true, and we proved by negating all the other religions and cults that Judaism is the correct religion and the only right one to be in. Then we went and we proved the validity of the Torah. Now, this in itself is enough for people to go and use for Kiruv, and that's why we're speaking about it today, because the ultimate point is not only for to convince people that Judaism is correct, but rather it is also to be able to go, and now each one of you will be able to have the power, the tools to go and convince other people that what Judaism is and the correct path of the Torah. So I spoke, at this yurtzeit suda. What is the English translation for that? Is there an English translation for that? Yurtzeit, commemorative feud, dead day. I don't know. Commemoration of death. That doesn't sound so good. Today we have come here to celebrate the passing. What? Memorial, annual memorial. I guess I don't know. Okay, so when I was speaking about this, when you think about people that pass away, it's very, very unfortunate that we get sort of locked into this society, the Western society, which states that there's a lot of things that they say. For example, the rest in peace. What else do they say? He's now with God. If you're Christian, you say he's now with somebody else, which I really hope he's not, because if he is, it's not the best place. But they say different things there. But an idea, when you start thinking about rest in peace, what does that mean, rest in peace? Is this an eternal sleep? Like, don't bother the baby. It's sleeping right now. Like, what is the rest in peace? So now, is that really what they think? That the people that, they go on and they're just resting in peace? I guarantee you there's no resting. In the next world, there's no, nap time. There's no, okay, you put a 9 to 5, in the heavens, you get, the right angels, you get the right connections. And then, you could go on vacation every once in a while. It's a completely different world. And in fact, that world is more real than our world. So the idea of rest in peace is an extremely distorted idea, an idea that unfortunately even religious Jews tend to misunderstand. When we think about people that pass away, we think about it as game over. They finish their tafka, their mission in life, and this is where they are right now. But in essence, it's really not like that. In the Rosh Hashanah, on the high holidays, it says that God opens the book of judgment. Who does He open the book of judgment? For the living and the dead. Now, I understand, we spoke about this idea before. I understand that we have to go and we have to judge the people that are alive. Why? Every year you get judged on that year. What did you do that year? Right? So it's actually coming up. Judgment Day is coming up. It's coming up, and you're going to get judged. And what are you going to get judged at? How was your year? Were you good this year? Now, it's not a Santa's good list and bad list. It's a situation. Did you do what you're supposed to do, the obligations that you were supposed to do? And when you're... This is good. This is... even I am going to need to, okay, fine. So, all right. For people that are on the virtual world, I'm sorry, you have to be in class in order to get this joke. Unless we tilt the camera, and we're going to see. Is that it? All right. So, is there no drinks in the fridge? No, there isn't. There's nothing? There's nothing in the fridge? Oh, it's bang. Okay. So, if you open it for me, I'll just do it really quickly. This way we don't have to stop on it, because I'm not planning on pausing it. Okay, so the idea is over here, that when you have a dead person, why is this dead person? It says the book of judgment is open for the dead and for the alive. We know for the alive you get judged. Why are the dead getting judged again? Let's say somebody's dead already for 500 years. Why are they getting judged again on Rosh Hashanah? And the answer is because it depends what they left on this world. If they left a child, let's start it with a child. Someone left a child, and that child started becoming, religious, started doing the right thing, going to Torah, mitzvot, ma'asim tovim, doing all the good things. Who is going to get reward for that? The child, the person itself, of course, but it's also going to go on the parent.
Or if you prayed for let's say a person to get married or have a child, then you also get their reward.
The idea is very simple. What you're saying is correct. When you have any association with a positive deed, you get part of that reward. However, we do have to mention that in the same way it goes for the other way. If you have any association with the negative side, if you bring someone down, if you bring somebody and they fall, you also have an association with that. So to understand this concept, just a little bit more clearly, when a child does a good deed, the child gets reward for it, and the parent as well gets reward for it. If a grandchild does a good deed, the parent gets reward for it, and the grandparent gets reward for it. Again, we're going to get to this in a little bit, later on in the class with Hashem. We'll get into a little bit more detailed on this. But the idea is very simple. This is just children. What about if you go and you convince somebody, and you get somebody who is, let's say, not religious, or not so religious, or religious, but just pretending to be religious? Which, unfortunately, it's a very big problem nowadays. People just go through the motions. They go through the motions, but inside, what do? They really believe? Do they really know? They're just doing it. They're saying what they're saying. They're doing what they need to do, but they don't actually feel it. Even if you go and you convince somebody like that, you could change the entire history that you're going to be dealing with in the next world. Now, the way it works is like this. Let's start with a very simple example. Somebody's not religious. A very simple idea, bring him to a class. You bring him to, it doesn't have to be this class, it could be any Torah class. You bring him to a Torah class, they start getting hooked on Torah. Why? Because everybody's going to get hooked on Torah. The second that you start listening to Torah, you're going to get hooked on Torah. Okay, granted, there are some people that speak like this, and they make you want to fall asleep because it sounds like a computer is talking to you. And then you want to go and hang yourself and say, this is not for me. But in general, any Torah class that you bring a person to, there is, a person gets attached to it. It's awesome. It's amazing. They enjoy it. They love it. They want to come here more. You bring someone to a Torah class. Let's say this person is completely not religious. You bring them to a Torah class. All of a sudden, they start getting more religious. And guess what? Over a period of time, they decide to become 100% religious. Whose reward is that? That goes in yours. Who said mine? Okay, everybody. Whoever said mine, I don't know who it was, but whoever said it, you have the power to do Kiruv. The rest of no one else, said it. But it's true, it's your reward. Which you think about it, when you want to invest something, you got to do it smart. You want to invest money, you got to do it smart. So imagine you go and you invest money, that's great, that's, you're going to make some money, that's awesome. But what does an ultimate investor want to do? He wants to make money, or she wants to make money, equal opportunity. She wants to make a lot of money. What is the smart way to do it? To invest it that you could sit on your golf course, you could go and get your nails done, right? And you could do what you want to do, and the money makes money for you. You don't even have to bother with it anymore. It's just making money for you. There is a way to do that in the spiritual sense. When you get somebody religious, it doesn't have to be from like 0 to 100, just a little bit more. Just you change something else about them. They become a little bit more observant. That second already, all of a sudden, everything else that they do moving forward because of your action, you get reward for it. Isn't that crazy? Do you stop for a second and think what that is worth? What the ability that you have, each and every one of you have this ability in your palms. And now it's even more than that. 500 years go by. You're already in the next world in Gan Eden in the highest place. There's L'ad Hashem from every one of us. You're in the highest place, right? You're in Gan Eden over there. Every single time that this person now has not a grandchild, a great-grandchild, they could have 1,000 descendants by this point in time. And now if they're all religious because of you, you get all reward for that because you went and you introduced them and you convinced them and you guided them to the right path. That is something that's so, the residual income that you could get on this is so crazy that you cannot even understand it.
What if like you try but like the person is like very, very bitter against like God?
Let's speak about that at the end. Remind me at the end.
Like from it, like, doesn't want to like hear anything and just gets very mad.
Remind me at the end to deal with that. It's an excellent question. Remind me at the end. We'll deal with that. Okay. So now and this is the idea when you think about it. When people go and send their children to a yeshiva. Now, granted, it costs money. It's not so cheap yeshivot. But when you go and you send your children to yeshivot, all of a sudden, everything that now the child is doing right now, it's coming in your reward. What happens if the other way? You're going and you send your child to public school. I had a student of mine that told me once, he's like, I'm going to be religious, I'm going to keep Shabbat, I'm going to do Nidah, I'm going to do all those things, but I'm going to send my child to public school. And the second that I heard that, like the blood pressure, ding, the bubble exploded. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like, have I taught you nothing all this time? Like, what are you talking about? He's like, come on, Rabbi, it's education. The yeshivot education are ridiculous. And I'm like, I speak to people that have been to public school, and I speak to people that have been in yeshivot. And granted, many yeshivot may not teach the Harvard level of English studies. I'm not saying all of them don't. Some of them, get very close. But are you really comparing an education to a yeshiva, to public school? I'm not even talking about Judaism. I'm talking about secular studies. I had a student of mine that was in public school. I was actually teaching him while he was in public school. Some days he was only learning 2 hours a day in school. And I'm like, what are you doing the rest of the time? And he was like, well, Call of Duty, I don't know, that's the only video game I remember. And a few out of the video games, there's something 2K basketball video, something, I don't know. So 2 hours a day in public school. It's not his fault, it's his parents' fault. But let's not get into, but the truth is, it is his fault, because I offered him to get into yeshiva. And I offered him that he wouldn't have to pay for anything. And I offered him everything, and he still, declined on it. But in any is 6 hours a day, right? You're talking about a full schedule of public school, schooler. Full schedule learning 6 hours a day. I think they still get out at 2 or 3. 3, which is, I don't know, this is why we have, whatever. Okay, let's not get into this. The idea, when you think about it, is the education, you cannot even compare. You cannot even compare, and I think I've said this before. I don't know if I said it on camera or off camera. I have people, and I know people personally, that have been through the yeshiva system, and guess what? They're in Harvard, they're in Yale, and they want to become very successful doctors and lawyers. And you know what's something very interesting? The Jewish people that go through the yeshiva system end up being a lot more successful per capita than you have the kids in public school.
That's because there's not a lot of Jews.
No, I said per capita. That's why I said per capita. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Why are they smart? Are they any? Is their genes any different? No, because they assert themselves. They go not per capita.
Asians are really.
Asians are smart. Let's get racist, shall we? Huh? All right, no, okay. What?
That's because of it.
I know. It's true. Yeah. Right? What do the Asians do, right? After they come home from school, you'll play piano for 20 hours a day and you'll get a scholarship in Harvard and you'll be a successful doctor, right?
That's like
This is right after they got back from the nurse, from pregnancy, like the firstborn. What? Who? There are many ethnicities that you could say they push them. Indians are also very smart. But, again, I said per capita. So, again, when you look at the numbers, I don't have to even go on. There are certain people, they do certain things. Imagine the reward you get. I had someone that told me once, he's like, they're having a get-together. They went and buying a lot of stuff. I'm like, oh, what are you getting for? He's like, oh, I'm having a movie showing in my house. I'm like, oh, that's so amazing. It's beautiful, like, what movie? And I'm like, I don't care. I'm like, what do you mean you're having? There are people that go and they gather together, like the Chanukat Habayit is like, come all, you're going to see my entertainment system, right? We got Bose sound system. You actually feel like you're in the tornado as it's happening. And Dorothy is, you're like in the situation. And then you have other people that go and they host a Torah class in the house. I've been invited to many houses to go and host a Torah class. And you have two houses. One hosts a Torah class and one hosts a movie showing. I don't know, whatever it is. A Super Bowl. Oh my gosh. Oh my super. Don't even get me started on a Super Bowl. Many years ago, I was invited to a Super Bowl party. You're talking about a long time ago. And it's Chata'ayim ani maskir hayom, right? And my sins that And I went to the Super Bowl party. I never followed sports. I loved playing sports. But I hated following it. I'm like, why am I watching somebody else have fun? And again, they're not having fun because they're very stressed and they needed to win. But I'm like, so I decided to go there. The enthusiasm that I saw the people had, it was all kosher, it was, catered by Kosher Delight or something. That's how long ago we're talking about, right? Allah Shalom, right? Kosher Delight, anybody know? Okay, so they all, they're so enthusiastic about the Super Bowl. And I'm like, who are we, rooting for? I'm like, the red team, the yellow team. I didn't really even speak to me. So, and the enthusiasm that they had, and they go and they spent a lot of money. Because you got to get that 75-foot long, I don't know, whatever. You got to get a lot of food, and then you got to have wings, men food, right, and beer, and you got to get really stuff that you should never eat on a date type of a situation, right? And you go and you sit over there, and they're going over there. They're so enthusiastic about it, and then you go to a different house that has a shiur Torah. Now think about it from a perspective of your child. Your child is going to see two scenarios. What do you think the child is going to gain more from? Can't bother daddy now, the game is on. And I know people like that. I know, why do I know? Because the wives tell me, I can't bother my husband. And the game's on, I don't know, the playoffs, whatever, the leading up to it, can't bother them. I'm like, what a shame. I don't tell it to the woman, obviously, but what a shame. This is what your husband is doing throughout the entire time. He's sitting in there, and he's watching all this, these sports games. The children know he can't bother daddy now, the game is on. Then you have another scenario where daddy went to a shiur Torah, or daddy's going and sitting with a Gemara, sitting with a Chumash, sitting with any book, for crying out loud, right? Just anything that you could just read. You don't bother daddy now, he's learning. What is the difference of a child going to be growing up when they see one daddy's always watching the Super Bowl? Oh, whatever, that's only once a year. Always watching a game, always watching, something else. Or you have a father that's sitting there and it's learning Torah. The difference that you have. And guess what? After 120, what is a child that sees his father sitting and watching the Super Bowl, sitting and watching movies and TV shows all day? What is he going to do when he gets older? He'll do exactly the same thing. He's going to have the same preference of beer. Generally speaking, they're going to do the same thing. Generally speaking, they're going to do the same thing. Now you have another child who sees his father learning Torah. What is he going to do when he gets older? Generally the same thing. You see a daughter that sees a mother dressing modestly. What is she going to do? You have to understand, children copy, they mimic their parents. Even the girls, even more so. The girls, it's the cutest thing. When my daughter started holding a baby, on her, thing, which is not a real one. Right? It was a doll. All right, and she goes and she changes a diaper and she does this. Girls are very observant. It's scary. It is scary. My sons, Baruch Hashem, I love them. They're amazing. But you could do something for them. They're like, they don't care. They're jumping, running, doing somersaults. They're doing all this stuff that they're doing. A girl, my daughter sits there and watches. Just watches the whole situation. Girls are very observant. Now, if you're raising your child, if you're dressing modestly, the girl, again, general statement, not all true, is going to dress a certain way. There is, there are certain ways. There's something called chinuch, the upbringing of your child. If the best way to upbring your child is to be that what you want your daughter to be. Be that what you want your son to be. Be the best role model. You start explaining to them, read all your Harvard books and say, hey, listen, it's good to express yourself and it's good to say, you could speak about from today and tomorrow all the good childhood techniques. The best one is leading by example. When you lead by example, that's how your child is going to turn out. Now think about it. This is not just like, your child. This is going to pay you back or kick you for eternity. If you go and you decide to live a certain way, that's the way that your child's going to live. That's the way that you're going to get judged every single year after you die. You have to understand that. On your death, you get judged. On your death day, on your yurtzeit, you get judged. And what do you get judged for? On Rosh Hashanah, you get judged for. What are you getting judged for? You're getting judged for everything that you left behind. If you left behind the legacy, if you left behind a powerful powerhouse of going through the Torah, mitzvot, and maasim tovim, then every year you're going to go higher and higher in a level in Gan Eden, in heaven. If you don't, God forbid, you're going to go in a lower and lower level every single year. Now, when we think about this, and when I speak to, let's say, suicidal kids or suicidal adults for that, I tell them one idea, one very important idea, and they don't usually think about this. And they tell me how they want to end it, they want to go through all these things, and I tell them I said, what about your daughter? If it's a girl, a son. If it's a boy, I said, what about your son? I said, what about your daughter? They're like, what are you talking about? He says, if you end your life, your daughter is never coming into this world. Your son is never coming into this world. They're waiting. You need to be a parent for a certain child or for certain children. And if you're ending your life, you're not just ending your life. Who do you think you are to stop your generation to come? Who do you think that you are that you're able to go and stop the lineage going on for generations to come? Do we even understand that? Everything that we do, people tell me all the time, it's my life, I want to do what I want. Your life? Are you kidding me? Your life? What about your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren? There are some people that, 50 years ago, the grandparents decided they don't want to be religious anymore. Think that affected them only? No. The grandchildren, the children, and the great-grandchildren now are marrying non-Jews. And guess who is it to thank for? Yeah, for those people that didn't want to come. And again, when we're dealing with Russians and back to the Soviet Union, and there's a lot to speak about that. It's not really their fault. I'm not getting into that. But when you have a choice that you need to make, that's not only on you. That is all on your children, your grandchildren, who you're going to marry. Now, I know I'm going to open up a can of worms over here now because, people as it is are so undecisive, not sure who they're going to marry. But you realize who you're going to marry is also going to matter for eternity. For your children, your grandchildren. You're going to marry a businessman, you're going to marry somebody who's learning in Kollel. You could have both. Not saying you can't have both. But I'm saying there's some people, they send me like the shidduch resumes, and I try to make from people that I speak to in the class, and I try to make matches as much as I can. And, but there's some people that says, no, I want a working guy. What about someone who learns to, it doesn't really matter so much. I'm like, maybe go find somebody else to find you a shidduch. What do you mean it doesn't matter so much? What do you want to send your kids? How do you want... People don't think about it. What do the people think about? How many vacations I want to go on? What type of house I want to, what type of family do I want to work? Maybe I need to find, find somebody that I don't need to work. Like, this is what they think about. They think about for the next 70 years, for the next 100 years. But they don't think about for eternity. And this is what's something that's so sad that we're dealing with nowadays, that people don't think about, about eternity. Nowadays, unfortunately, and this is, even historically in the past 50, 100, even 200 years, we've been losing a lot of Jews. We really have, with the Reform movement, the conservative movement. Even without that, we've been losing a lot of Jews. And it's very, very unfortunate. But, like I said before, a smart businessman knows how to make money in a bad economy. A smart businessman knows that even though everyone's losing money, he's going to know how to make money. Now, when we look at this, a lot of Jews are going far off. But Baruch Hashem, we have so many that are coming on, and Ken Yirbu may keep on getting growing and growing and growing. We have two options to deal with. There are organizations that are set up to take people away from Judaism. Every time I even think about them, I already forget about that. I'm talking about Jewish organizations. Jewish organizations. We don't want to say it online.
That's run by Jews. Also.
Yeah, I'm telling you that the organizations. Oh, you may saying Jews for? Yeah. Well, some of them are, some of them are not. These things get me so upset. They get me like, what are you doing? You want to mess up your life and your children and your grandchildren for all eternity? Do that on you, but why drag everybody else along with it? So we have, unfortunately, a tremendous amount of people falling off, but we have, Baruch Hashem, even a tremendous amount of people coming back on. Now, when you look at it from two perspectives. There is something, that's, before we even continue, there is even before I even go further, social media, curse or a blessing? Curse. Anybody say a blessing?
It's a blessing, but
Blessing. Okay.
It's not.
it's more bad than good.
Oh, okay. That's very very good. So.
I'm on a break from it. I feel like relaxed and
Baruch Hashem.
and I like.
Mark my words.
I like my life.
Mark my words. What's going to happen in the future? You know how there's Alcoholic Anonymous, Drug Anonymous. There's going to be a social media addiction situation that's going on. Yep, there's going to be one. You want to start a good business? Start a social media, anxiety, self-esteem, problems, whatever. So social media is such a curse. Such a curse, literally like the worst of the worst. 99.9% of the times, it's a curse. There is a 0.01% that you could use it for good. And how do you use it for good? Well, that's not social media. That's that's the internet.
People here are here because they heard of you through YouTube or
0.01. That's where I'm going on. 0.01. That's where I'm leaning towards. You're right. First of all, Torah Anytime is not a social media, right? What is their logo? Their logo is the God's reason for the internet, right? What's God's reason for the internet? To spread it. And I got it. All right, fine. Okay. I got to tell you this. I didn't even turn the page yet. Okay, so when we have nowadays, we have smartphones, we have tablets, we have computers. For crying out loud, there are smartwatches. I don't know if they're still making smart glasses, right? Do they still make smart glasses? They still make smart. They have smart glasses. I can't even. When I first heard about this, I'm like, you have a screen inside your glass. You're able to see things. You're able to do stuff with glass. So, well, technically, you're a zombie anyways. Then you're looking down here and you're looking up here. There is so much that you could do. The internet, by the way, the internet blew up 15, 20 years ago? Before that, they're smart. Yeah, everything is smart. But the more smart things that you get, the dumber that you get. You should realize that. Everything is an equal balance. So if I would ask anybody over here to memorize a 7-digit number,
yes.
You would be able to memorize a 7-digit number?
I know my parents. I know everything by heart.
Okay, very good. 4 numbers, you said. What happens if I give you a number right now?
No, it's 7 numbers.
I know. So I said 7 numbers. I said that specifically for a phone number. They split it into 3, 3, and 4. Nowadays, when people have a very hard time memorizing a phone number because they don't need to. When you don't use your brain, you don't need to. There's nowadays you don't need to learn your times table. Because it's all on your phone or on your watch or on your glasses, whatever it is that we are losing touch with our mental, abilities or mental capacity. When you look at it, you have the ability. There's something so fascinating. You have a smartphone. You have a phone, right? Which again is not a good thing. Granted, you can do a lot of good things with it, but by all means, way, and form, if you have the ability not to have a smartphone, you should not have a smartphone. You should not. But you do. You have. The ability. Nowadays, you could go on your phone and you could look at the most disgusting, most perverted, most twisted thing that people in the history of the world never were able to see on, let alone on any screen. You're able to see that on your screen, in your privacy of your own home. At the same point in time, you're able to use this to gain eternity, learn Torah. You're able to sit here and learn Torah nonstop. There are some people that all they do is they're drivers. They have to drive all day. What do they do all day? They're sitting on Torah anytime, one class after another class after another class after another class, sitting there and learning Torah. You have the ability. You should realize that Zelu Madzeh Bara Elokim. It's an equal playing field. Everything is always an equal power. If you have the power and the ability to do something good with a certain item, you have the same power and the same ability to do something bad. Somebody that has a good verbal, ability to speak very well, they have the ability to go and bring people closer to Judaism. They have the ability to go and make a lot of money. They have the ability to bring people away. They have the ability to go and there are certain people that are very good writers. And what do? They go and they write blogs. I can never understand this, but it's like, what is this, Dear Diary? Today, whatever, I don't read blogs, so I don't know. But from my understanding of blogs, it's somebody's personal opinions, and everyone's like, well, let's, read what you have to say. Now, you have 2 ways to do it. There are people that get, tens of thousands of people visiting their blogs and reading what what's going on in their brains. And you have somebody that's bringing people away from Torah, someone that's pushing people closer to Torah. You have the ability to do things today that we never had in the history of humanity. You realize we have the ability today and I can tell you this personally. You go about 100 years ago. You know what? We didn't have to go back that far. 50 years ago. Again, we don't even have to go that. 30 years ago. Wait, how old? About 40, 50 years ago. If a rabbi wanted to say a speech, who heard the speech? Whoever was in that room at that point in time. Maybe you had some people jotting down notes. Maybe you had some people doing it. But that's as far as it went. Nowadays, you know how far a Torah? We have a camera sitting over here, right in front of us. We have,
in Egypt.
A person that I listen to, he has over 7,000 people on his WhatsApp groups, and I'm like one of them. But like
right.
I'm saying, like,
but that's nothing.
So many.
You don't even know what goes on behind the scenes. There's some. I know rabbis that now even before I speak about that, Rabbi Akiva, how many students did he have? 24,000 students. That's a lot of students. Imagine you are able to get 24,000 people in one room without a loudspeaker somehow, I don't know, and you're able to speak about them. That's a tremendous amount for one class, right? For one class, there's a period over. Well, maybe I'll answer it afterwards.
So, like, how did everybody hear them when they spoke?
Who said it was 24,000 in one shot? It wasn't all.
But it's true. Like on Shabbat and all that, like there are certain rabbis that do have like tons of people.
Yeah, but they don't have 24,000. They have a lot of people nowadays. Is 100. Depending on the place, you get a really large place and a big synagogue, so you get a few hundred. How many? When was the last time that you went to a speech that there was over 1,000 people there?
Never.
So you have, but it's something very interesting in the history of the world. In the history since the beginning of time. You had like somebody rabbi that had Rabbi Akiva that had so many students, 24,000 students. Nowadays I know rabbis that they could put a class online and there's more than 24,000 people that listen to it.
Yeah.
Do you understand? Like, and what do we? I could only speak about myself. Like I'll put my class online. The amount of people that are in the room is like irrelevant to the amount of people that it reaches on the online virtual world. It's crazy. Now, when you think about it, why did God do this right now? Why? 100 years ago, you know what type of speakers we had? 200 years ago, 500 years ago, we can't even compare the people, the high level that we had in those days to the people that we have speaking now. And again, I'm speaking about myself. I can't speak about anybody else. But we know one thing: there's Yeridat HaDorot. There's a general downstream of the generation. The rabbis that we had in the yesteryear is nothing compared to the rabbis that we have today. And the rabbis that we have today, Baruch Hashem, are amazing. And I know nothing bad against them. But can you compare to the Chafetz Chaim? Can you get compared to the Vilna Gaon, to the Magen Midubna? We had rabbis that were able to, the Arizal, you had the greatest rabbis. Now here's an interesting question. Why is it that God is giving the ability for people nowadays, for rabbis nowadays, to reach more people than the entire history of the world? You think about that. And let's get the questions at the end.
I'm saying to bring like Mashiach, because like
very good,
we're
very
all,
good.
like so like low and
very good. This is where I'm going with. So when you
no excuse, right?
Why there was an excuse earlier, yeah. But there's something very interesting when you think about it, and this is my own ideas. Let me share with you my own ideas. You look at through the history of the world. Through the history of time, we always had people that were sinning, unfortunately. We always had Jews that were going off the derech. But the majority of the Jews were always religious. Until roughly about 200 years ago, then we had a very, very bulk with Reform, Conservative, and the Enlightenment period. We had the Revolution, especially, if you know history, going back to, the truth is it goes back to actually Napoleon. When we had a lot of Jews that sort of veered a little off. And they kept on going more and more and more and more off, unfortunately. And nowadays we have something very interesting. That you have many Jews that are coming more and more and more on. Not only that, you have converts. You ever I deal with a handful of converts. I know rabbis that deal with 10 times more converts that I deal with. Converts that are not even from, forget about your same zip code. They're not even in the same country. They're in a different country. And that's why, how are they getting into it? How are they finding Judaism? There are Jews that were stuck in the worst religions. You're talking about Jews that were stuck in Hinduism, Jews that were stuck in Christianity and Mormonism. You had Jews that were stuck everywhere, and all of a sudden they're coming out. How? Where all of a sudden it's coming from? And you want to know something? It's that big curse, which also has a little blessing inside of it. And that's the internet. You have people that are able to go and listen to Torah classes through the other parts of the world. I'm telling you, I get emails from people from places that I didn't even think had internet. And not only did I not think they have internet, I'm like, how do you even speak English? And not only do you speak English, how do you understand me? I speak so fast. Weird. How does this even working? Maybe the slowdown option, Torah anytime. Yeah. So you have something here, something very unbelievable. You have the Torah is spreading out through the entire world. And the question is why? Why is it happening now and it's never happened before in the history of the world? And the answer is, like you said earlier, there is a certain time, there is a time frame for this world. After a certain period of time, game over. The world is done. It's finished. Finito. That's Spanish, right?
Yeah.
Check, right? Okay, we use Spanish. Okay, so you have the world is coming to an end. When something is coming into an end, things have to speed up a little bit. Things have to speed up. You have, all of a sudden, God is saying, okay, listen, I have a Jew in Africa, and I have a Jew in Switzerland, I have a Jew in Czechoslovakia, I have a Jew in all these different types of places. They need to go and they need to wake up. All of a sudden, this comes up, there's another Torah class comes up, and all of a sudden, the power of the internet is all of a sudden able to go and draw people in like it was never able to do before. Now, here is where the point where I'm going with this is that the power of Kiruv, the power, and not only the power, the obligation that each and every one of us has on another Jew. By the way, it's an obligation. It's not like, hey, I want to be a good person today, so I'm going to invite somebody. No, you have an obligation. Somebody who's not religious, you have an obligation to go and help them, guide them to the right path. It's not a nice little bonus. It's an obligation. Right? Whether you go through you have to, there's a bunch of different verses that I could quote for you where you can have this obligation that stems from. But besides thinking about those obligations, there is, somebody that's going to hear this class. The power of going, and you know what it is? What is it? Nowadays, you could go and you could send somebody a Torah class. You don't have to package a CD into like an envelope and package and pay to listen to it. It's a simple forward or share or something like that on your social media or whatever the other unfortunate places that people end up in. It doesn't even cost you anything. Share, hey, why don't you listen to this? You realize what that is? You send somebody a Torah class. Forget about even bringing someone there. You send somebody a Torah class. The guy listens to the class, all of a sudden gets hooked on, and then who knows what comes of it. You know how many people that ended up coming to my class, or even better yet, I was speaking to them one-to-one. How did they get to me? Because one person sent the class to somebody else. One person sent it to them, and they started getting hooked on. So one person sent the Torah class to somebody else, and now this person decided he's going to listen to, all these classes, all the Divinity series, right? Where are we up to now? 18, 19. So listening to like 20 hours of learning Torah right now. Whose credit does that go according to? To the guy who sent it, to the girl who sent it. Do you realize the investment opportunity that you each have? It is crazy. Something that we never had before. You realize in the olden days, you wanted to do Kiruv. And when I say olden days, I don't know, 10 years ago. Olden days, right? What did you want? So you had a CD or you had a tape, a cassette, whatever it is. You had to go and you start handing them out. Here, why don't you listen to this? Why don't you listen to this? You had that opportunity. I don't know. You go 50 years ago, forget about it. You can't hand them anything. Please come to a class. Please come to that. Even more than you go further back. There was nothing. Only recently there was this revolution. All of a sudden in this technology. Now you could do Kiruv without even knowing anything about Judaism. I know non-Jews that do more Kiruv than 100 Jews combined. I know non-Jews that are not even in America. Right? Their primary language is not even English, but they do more Kiruv than Jews. They're going over there. These people, they have a special place for them in the next world. They really do. The people that they have, I speak to, non-Jews that email me, all they want and they pray for, and they donate money to what? To help God's children come closer to the Torah. You understand what we're dealing with over here? I was speaking to a guy who's going to a casino, unfortunately, and he was, we're arguing back and forth. It's allowed, it's not allowed. He's like, no, I'm going to go there, not going to, whatever I lose, it's fine, I don't mind it. I said, how much are you going for? How much are you going with? You're not going to even believe it. He says $10,000. This person, when somebody goes and asks him for a donation, give him chai, 18. No, don't worry. No, every month 18. Every month. $18. 101. Sephardim love 101. I don't know, why not 102? Right? Why not? Chai, you want to give chai? Why don't you give 20? That's $2 extra. People all of a sudden want to give the right. You want to, every dollar is another is extra for tzedakah, for charity. You have somebody now. Why is somebody willing to go and gamble $10,000? But yet, when it comes to giving for Torah classes or going and hosting something, they'll give $18, 101. I don't know, 180 if they're feeling happy. Right? Why is it? Because where do they see the importance in it? Where do they value the here we have, $10,000. Maybe I can make money making that. But here, unfortunately, what people think when they give charity, that's it, my money's gone. Fine, I'll donate, I'll feel good for a little bit, but that's it. They don't think about all the eternal reward that they can get. They don't realize what they can have. We're dealing with nowadays, you don't need money to do Kiruv. You don't need to be able to even know how to convince people to do Kiruv. All you do is you share something, for crying out loud. Why is that so hard? Do you realize the opportunity that you have? If you, for some odd reason, are on Facebook or any other Instagram, social media, or anything else, and you don't share any Torah class, it doesn't have to be mine, by the way. I couldn't care less. It could be anyone. If you don't share a Torah class, then what are you doing? You are sitting on a gold mine. Imagine if you were able to go back in time, and you were able to invest in that fake money, Bitcoin, right? You're able to go and invest in that. There's some people, I know, I was speaking to one of my students who had, right when it came out, he needed to buy it for games, fantasy, I don't know what he needed to buy it for some odd reason. And he bought it, and I don't know if he spent $100 or $1,000, and he sold it, shortly after that. And he told me the amount of money that he would have had he not sold it, back when it first came out, the number was astronomical, and he was like, he's beating himself up ever since. He's like, why did I sell? I was like, I didn't even feel it. I didn't feel the difference. Let's go to all the comments afterwards at the end of the class. So you're like, you didn't even, you don't even realize it. Imagine I would be able to go and give you a time machine. Back, whenever it is that you want. And that, let's say you invest in Facebook and, I don't know, whatever other, you invest in anything when you go IBM, whatever it was when it became big, Apple you want to invest in. Would you invest in it if you were to go back in time, that this was going to make a lot of money? 100%. Well, let's say you don't have any money, you would go and borrow. You would go and figure it out because you would know that this is going to make a lot of money. I'm giving you a hint. There's financial advisors. Financial advisors, you make a little money, you want to go and invest it. It's like, hey, you're going to put it in this Roth IRA, you're going to put it in this mutual fund, you're going to do it over here, this is going to make you this amount of return, this is going to make you this amount of return. For some reason, they don't have a spiritual financial investor. And they should. They're starting a new business. All right? Spiritual financial. Where should you donate your money to get you the most reward? And I'm telling you right now, I'm giving you a secret that you don't have to know in the future. That you don't have to go back in time. You want to know the most powerful thing that you could do is help somebody become religious. Because if you're, it doesn't have to be from nothing to zero. Even help somebody be mechazik somebody just a little bit. The reward that you're going to get is for eternity. For eternity. Do we even understand that? And it's not even going to cost you anything, for crying out loud. It's a simple share. I don't even understand why people are not all non-stop just spreading out Torah. I really don't. If I had the time to go and sit on social media, that's what I would be doing. Just sharing, keep on sharing, more and more Torah classes. Because we don't even understand it. Now I'll tell you another secret. And this is a secret. You have a very, let's call him a great financial advisor. He knows the next stock. He knows everything. He invites a bunch of multi-billionaires to come sit by his table, and he says, this is the next big thing. And now, what % of people do you think are going to actually go and invest? And the number is actually going to surprise you. 90% are not even going to go, I'm going to go, maybe I'll put a little bit, maybe I'll put this. They go, I have to go golfing, and then I'm going to my yacht, and then I got to redo my kitchen for the 17th time for my third wife. Whatever. The reasons that they have to, go through. And you have, 10% of the people are actually go and are going to capitalize it. People that hear about a situation, a very, very, very small amount actually capitalize it. What I'm telling you right now is a gold mine. I am telling you a secret, and that's why I decided that I need to speak about this now and not wait till the end of the series. This is a gold mine that you have right now, the ability that you have to do. And I'll tell you even furthermore, the amount of people that are going to listen, are going to act upon what I'm saying right now, 10%, if I'm lucky. 10%. 90% of the people are going to live the class today and be like, or listen to the class online and be like, that's very nice, it's amazing. Yeah, okay, are we going for ice cream? It's completely, this is a very, very big problem. When people listen to a class and you don't internalize it and act upon it, the majority of that is just waste of time. Why did you even come? If you're not going to actually internalize or act upon what you learned, then what is the point of it all? Like really what? And granted, even if you're not going to internalize it, it's good to come, good to learn Torah. Obviously, Torah is a reward in itself. But you have, it's crazy how you have somebody who's going to share with you insider trading secrets, legal insider trading secrets, and not going to do it still. Can you even understand that? And people are still going to leave. They'll listen to the class and be like, okay, fine, I can earn a reward for eternity. You know what that is? You get one person to become religious, their children, their grandchildren, their great-grandchildren, their great-grandchildren, for eternity is all in your debt. And no, I want to go ice skating. It's like the stupid. Invite them over for a movie, Harry Potter. Like it's really cool. Like I got my new stuff. You waste really like this is what you're here on this earth for, really? So you could introduce a new beer and the new your new flat screen TV to all your friends. Really, is that what the purpose of it all is? You look at another thing is that nowadays we're dealing with issues that we have never dealt with before on the volume that we never dealt with before. Rabbis generally get to hear all the not good news. Nobody calls Rabbi, "Hey, Rabbi, I just won the multi-billion-dollar lottery. I want to just let you know, Chazak, everything's amazing." Generally, what do you hear? You hear all about the depressed, the anxiety, the suicide. You hear, about the physical problems, the emotional problems, the spiritual problems. You hear about all the problems. You hear about, and not only that, how many people get, pass away young. Not even in their car accident. We ever had? When was the last time that you heard two horses collided because of drunk driving? You never had this before, right? By the way, horses are almost like self-driving cars. You ever think about that? It's almost like a self-driving car that you have over here, right? So even if you have a drunk wagon driver, how often do you hear of like drunk driving, texting while he's writing his diary while riding his horse, and that's why they collided? You don't hear about these things, before. Drug overdose. Historically, how many do we have to deal with this already? You know what we have to deal with nowadays with drug overdose? The drug problem nowadays, I'm not even talking about the secular world. I'm talking about the religious community. Why? Do you ever stop for a second and think, why is this all happening? You have people that this past week, there was a funeral for a mother of 3 that passed away. We know we were praying for and we were learning for the memory for my wife's close friend. Passed away also, childbirth. Things that we never had to deal with at the volume that we ever had to deal with. What is going on? And if you read the news and you'll be like, oh, that's very sad. Let's go back to Candy Crush. If you go and you just read the news and you don't internalize it, you missed everything. There is a question that we need to constantly ask. And that question is one word, 3 letters. Why? Why is this happening? And I'm not saying why that you could blame God. This is something that, I speak to people all the time. The first thing that they have to blame is God. And and I get very, very, and I tell this to people in their faces, and it gets very, very uncomfortable. It gets very, very uncomfortable. People go and they have through a hard life. And I'm not judging anybody. People have hard times, and I do. But they go and they blame God. Why did God do this to me? And I'm like, why are you blaming God for your problems? And the majority of the time, they're the ones that cause their own problems. They got into their drugs by themselves. They went and they did 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 all the problems. And guess who they blame at the end? They blame God. Stop blaming God for your issues. You have a problem, learn to deal with it and stop putting the blame on others. It's a problem that we're having, and you should know. Relationship cause tremendous amount of problem, tremendous amount of frustration that goes into interpersonal relationship because the blame gets passed. The husband gets upset, puts it on the wife. The wife gets upset, put it on the husband. Stop blaming other people. Look at yourself. Why? The question that you should ask is not why God did this to me. What did I do to deserve this? What can I fix? If something has happened to you that it's not good, God is sending you a sign. Stop for a second and think, why? What is happening? Why do I deserve this? And if you go through life, even if it doesn't happen to you, other people, why is God making this happen? Maybe there's something that I could do. Everything boils down to spirituality. Everything boils down to spirituality. And if there's something that's bad, it's happening, you have to think about it, what you could do spiritually. What could you do? The amount of problem, the refuah shalema list that we had over here keeps on growing. Do we stop for a second and think, why? Why? Do you care for the other person? It would be a very, very nice thing? Ask, not going to mention your name on camera, for a copy of all the list. I want to pray for all those people. When is the last time that you prayed for somebody else that you have no idea? When is the last time that you went and you decided that you want to pray for somebody else to get married even though you desperately want to get married? But you stop for a second and you say, you know what, let me think about somebody else. And you should know, by the way, that's a secret, that if you pray for somebody else, you get answer first. You should go, when do we stop and we stop all being so self-absorbed and only think about ourselves and stop and think about other people? What can I do to change something? And you want to know what's the ultimate thing that you can change? The ultimate thing that you can change, the ultimate gemilut chasadim, the best level of kindness is not to help someone physically, it's to help someone spiritually. There are so many people that are just They're thirsting for Torah. They are thirsting to just get closer to Judaism. All they need is one person to go and invite them. Doesn't even have to be to class. A Shabbat meal. Come over to my house for a Shabbat meal. You know that how much times, and then you have people. I was reading this today. There's a person who tries to push people away from Judaism. If we could say Yimach Shemo, then we can maybe. And he says, people invite people over for a Shabbat meal. What's a Shabbat meal? You have families sitting down, and that's very rare nowadays. I'm like, that's not the reason why people become religious, because there's a family time. If that would be the reason, then you could go to Thanksgiving dinner. Or you could go to any other, July 4th barbecue. The reason that people become religious is not because they're coming in Shabbat and everyone's sitting as a family. It's because what's happening on that table? How are you interacting with your spouse, with your children? I was sitting once at a Shabbat meal, and it really bothers me the things that people speak on the Shabbat table. Like, what do they speak about? The TV show, the sports, the business. I'm like, the once a week that you're finally sitting with your family, this is what you're discussing? This is what you're showing what you're showing your children? It's more important business, it's more important, movies, TV, what the neighbor's doing, what the neighbor is driving, who's getting divorced, who's having problems. This is what we're speaking about. Lashon hara, nivul peh, the disgusting at the lowest level, and this is what you're putting on your Shabbat table, and then you're wondering why your child doesn't love Judaism and doesn't love learning Torah? Because he doesn't see anything that's love in the house. When we go in there, one time, I was in a house, and generally the way that it works, wherever I go to eat, I'll usually say Dvar Torah by myself, regardless of whether you ask me to or not, because especially depending on what the conversation on the table is going. But some people, I had one guy once, I was sitting by his meal, and he's like, "What's this week's parasha? What's this week's Torah portion?" And I'm like, "I don't understand." I'm like, "If you would ask me this Friday night, that's a good question for you. This is the Shabbat day meal. You are in synagogue. You heard them read the Torah. What were you doing for the 45 minutes that we were reading the Torah? For crying out loud, how do you not even know what we're talking with?" There are people that are able to go and tell you the Mets and the Yankees and the Giants and the Jets scores for the past 10 years, but they don't know the weekly Torah portion. That's the type of guy you want to marry? Is that the type of guy you want to marry? Who every week is like, okay, what's this week? You're sitting over there. And this is very important, and if you take offense in this, good. And this is really for the men. If you're sitting on Shabbat day in the synagogue, and you don't know when you're opening up your Chumash what parasha you need to open up to, you have to reevaluate your entire life. How do you not know what this week's parasha is? Regardless of even if you learned anything, did you not listen to last week's parasha? You have to reevaluate, what are you doing with your life? What have you been doing the entire week? Yeah, okay, you're busy, you're running a business, you're running this, you're running a family. You didn't have a chance to open up Chumash? You didn't have a chance to do that? This is what you're showing your children. This is what your children are going to end up doing. The women, no. Absolutely not. Yeah. So, it can't hurt. Sometimes you need to tell your husband. Your husband will be like, what's, this week's parasha? Oh, this week's parasha is Bereshit Shemot.
No, it's usually
Monday,
the other way around.
Thursdays.
Exactly.
Not Friday night. I don't know.
Shabbat day, Monday and Thursdays. Right. So,
I'm not even the wife.
Yeah. You have... there are certain people that come to classes, come to Torah class. And by the way, you should know this is very important to women. I'm going to just apologize right now. I know I say this every single week. We just turned one page. So whoever needs to leave, do your thing. We'll be here for a few more minutes. So, the truth is, the majority of the things that I wanted to say tonight, that I said tonight, I had no intention of saying when I came in here. Right? As you can see, I only did the majority of things I didn't. Yeah, whatever. By the end, if I don't get to the end, I'm gonna summarize it. I'm gonna have to, or do part 2. Yeah, it's true. You should know, I am right now. We're on the series. I think we're on part 18. If on the series, you should know. Where's Rachel? You're the reason, by the way, that we started this series. Remember what you asked me a long time ago? You asked me a long time ago that you wanted to know what to answer, what to say to things. When you told me that, I said, okay, in my mind, I'll do a 3-series class. So this series is already going on. This 3 to 18, and we're not even close to done. By the way, we're not even close to done. So you should be. We still have to deal with oral law. We still have to deal with Bible criticism. We still have to deal with free will. We still have to deal with a few more issues.
Rabbi, you know how she found out about you?
Online? There you go.
I did not find you online. I found
There we go. And you should know that Gorski girl is getting all the reward. Is she even here?
She's not here today.
Look at the reward that you could get. You could get somebody to come to class. You get all the reward. You don't have to come anymore. You're getting the reward. But no, granted, yeah.
She doesn't even come often.
She doesn't. Oh no.
And she's getting
Okay.
all the reward. How amazing.
It's unbelievable. It really is unbelievable. So
Can I ask
it is.
my question?
Oh yes, you can go ask your question.
Wait. So, if let's say like the person grew up from and then like fried out and then what? And
Yeah.
then like
I got your lingo. Don't worry
in
about it.
their way, let's say they are like reform whatever, and they bring like their son to temple, and then like their son is the only one who like ends up becoming like from. Do they still get all that even though they weren't from?
Excellent question. We're going to answer that hopefully if I get to where I want to get to. So I will answer that, but it's a long answer and an excellent question.
And also, so I said like before, if you try like many times talking to like the person about like God, prayer,
We're going to get. You have to remind me.
Like, they get very mad and they don't listen.
Then you don't have to. But again, I would refer you back. I gave a class called Rebuke the Obligation, When, Where, and Why, something along those lines. That's where I deal with when do you have to stop. And I go through in detail on when, how far you have to go, and when do you have to go and stop. It's too long to get into now. But the other question I will B'ezrat Hashem answer. Anyways, let's move on. There are some people that, and this, by the way, is very, very relevant to women. There's some people that go into class once a month, once every 6 months, once a year on the parents. I have a student and that comes to class. He arranges a nice class when on the yurt side of his mother. When his mother passed away, that's when he arranges a large class and he invites a lot of people. I tell him every time, I'm like, what about throughout the entire year? Granted, you're doing a great thing for your mother, but what about the entire year? You're able to carry such a big crowd to your class. You'll be able to handle a class, and he doesn't do it. Doesn't capitalize it. It's such a shame. There are some people that have the power, the ability to go and arrange a class. They're able to go and they're able to, really bring a large group together. And this is something also, like, if I get there's a few people, I don't think anybody here in the room, that emailed me, they wanted to come to, to this class, back when we started it. And they said, can we bring people? I'm like, what type of question is that? Of course. Invite the whole world to learn Torah. Like, why? That should never be a question. Invite everybody. Because if you think about it, who you invite, you get reward for that. It's something so unbelievable, so unfathomable that we don't even realize the reward that we're dealing with it. Now, you have a child that's growing up in a home with a mother or the father. And again, not always. Some people get busy. They're going to class once a year or versus 3 times a week. What do you think the difference of that child is going to be? What do you think that child is going to grow up? No, daddy's important. He has to go to class. He sees mommy going once every 2 weeks. If she's not able to, whatever it is, goes to a class. It's a different mentality when you show something how important. This is what it is. When somebody goes and we start off this class on when someone passes away, do you realize when someone passes away, it's not that's it. You have no connection, no nothing. You're able to go and send a package to that person. If somebody passes away, you're able to go and do a good deed for a memory and merit of that person. Do you understand what that is? That you're able to go, and it's not through like snail mail, right? It doesn't go through the UPS, gets sorted, but it's this, it gets instantly. You do a good deed, angels come, right? They flap down. They gather this, this mitzvah that you do. They bring it up into the next world. They present it to your parent, your grandparent, your great grandparent, your friend, whatever it is. They open it up. Because of that, now they go into a higher level, in heaven. Do you realize the power that you have? People say rest in peace. That's it. It's over. Like, what are you talking about? I usually ask these people, I'm like, so what do you think, they usually, I don't even have to ask them, they usually tell this to me, my friend, he passed away, but, God took his strongest soldier. I love when they say that because it's going to get very ugly very fast because I know that's going to happen. I don't enjoy, the confrontation. I really don't enjoy this, but I do it. And I say, oh, really, they're God's right-hand man. That's cool. They keep Shabbat? No, like, no, but it was a good person. Oh, okay. Kept kosher? No, but he had a heart of gold, like a big heart of gold. Like, cool. What did they do besides being a nice person? And then they have to start racking the brains, like they brought flowers to their parents. Like, wow, they were a decent child. Congratulations. I'm like, God's right-hand man, that's all it takes to be God's right-hand man? I'm like, sign me up. Like, if this is all I have to do, I'm like, who are you to decide who is God's right-hand man. Somebody who does, you really think, I told this to him honestly, and the unfortunate part is actually this was a brother of the person. I'm like, do you honestly think that if he didn't keep Shabbat, didn't keep kosher, didn't do anything Jewish, he's God's right-hand man? And granted, I love him, I want him only for the best for him. But come on, be realistic for a second. He didn't listen to God at all. You really think that's what it's going to be? I'm like, what about you? I'm like, you see how short life is. And the truth is, we should all see how short life is. Open up any newspaper, any Jewish newspaper. How many times have you see young people passing away? If you don't wake up and realize life is short, then you are completely spacing out through the entire life. If you don't even think about it for a second, life is really short. What am I doing? If I'm going to be going, am I going to be God's right-hand man? Right-hand woman, whatever it is. Soul, not no gender, right? So whatever it is, you're going up there. Where are you going to be? Do you ever stop for a second and think about it? Yeah, it's morbid. Yeah, it's not so fun to think about it. But yeah, it's the most important thing that you can think about. I tell us, you have to think about. You have to think about these things. The Gemara on Shabbat speaks about when the destruction of the temple. The angel of destruction went and they wanted to go and sort of attack the righteous people as well. And we're like, wait, why are you attacking the righteous people as well? He says, because the righteous people didn't help the regular people, the sinners, the people, they didn't help them come and do tshuva. But then, that it gets answered and says, well, listen, even if they would have said something, they still, the sinners would have listened. And this is like, the angel of judgment, or whatever, this is along, there's two different, perspectives. So, from one perspective, it says, you and I know that because we're in the next world. But the righteous people never knew that. And if they didn't know that what they are going to say is not going to have any effect, they should have said it. And because they didn't say it, that's why they died as well. People get punished. You realize you get punished as well if your friend is not doing something right. And it's something very scary. Kol Yisrael arevim zeh lezeh. We're all interconnected. To think that somebody else is doing something wrong, it's not your problem, that's 100% incorrect. Of course it's your problem. If you have a son that's doing something wrong, it's not your problem. Of course it's your problem. If you have a sibling, a best friend that's doing something wrong, it doesn't bother you? Of course it does. And it should. And if it doesn't, then you have a very, very big problem. There's a pasuk in Jeremiah, chapter 15, verse 19. It says that God's saying, if you return, I will return you. You will stand before me. And then it says something very interesting. It says, Kipi tihiyeh. You will be like my mouth. What does that mean that you will be like my mouth? Rashi says that if God makes a decree, you could overturn it. Now what are we talking about over here? This is a reference to people that are helping other people do repentance. Look at Rashi over there. Rashi is saying over there in Jeremiah chapter 15 verse 19, if you help somebody else come and do repentance, you have the ability to overturn a decree. You know what that, I mean, talk about connections, right? Talk about you have connections into the upper world. And yet, we have such a simple ability, so easy to do it. Invite somebody. What does it cost to invite somebody to a class? You have sushi, what is there, pizza, I don't know how many stuff you guys have over here. You have candy, you have drinks, there's grape juice for crying out loud, and Twizzlers. You have stuff. Why do we have grape juice? A bracha party? Yeah. Okay. So you have, you have all these things that you have reason to go and to. It's so simple. Like really, you're sitting in a nice room, an air-conditioned room with friends, family, and it's so hard to invite somebody to a class. It's so hard to send somebody a class. Eternity that you have on your fingertips, and we're all losing it out. We're all just letting it slip, all pass by. There's a Gemara in Avodah Zarah that says that for the world is going to last, anybody know for how many years? 6,000 years. 6,000 years. 2,000 years of emptiness, 2,000 years of Torah, and 2,000 years of Mashiach. You know when we start counting the 2,000 years of Torah? By Avraham. But not when Avraham started learning about God. When Avraham started going and bringing other Jews back to, it wasn't Jews that, bringing other people back to God. When he started doing Kiruv, that's when we started counting the Torah. You know what you think about something very interesting. Why is it there were plenty of righteous people before Abraham? Why did God start the Jewish nation with Avraham Avinu? Hanoch, for example, he became an angel, a level of an angel. He died. He went straight. He didn't even die. Went straight up to heaven. You're talking about somebody. God could have had so many other people to start the Jewish nation. Why did he pick Avraham? Because Avraham was the first person to go and help other people realize God. He was the first righteous people. There were plenty of more righteous people before him. But Avraham went and sacrificed his own ability to go and keep himself secluded. And go and make himself only worry about his own spirituality. He started worrying about somebody else's spirituality. He became the father of the Jewish nation. You're talking about something that every one of us, we all stem from Avraham. Where did that come from? And by the way, you know what Avraham? Avraham is known as Yeda'ativ. What does that mean? The Rashi says, Chiba, love. God says to Avraham, Ohavai, my love. God doesn't say this to anybody else. Somebody that goes and helps other people come closer, comes do tshuva, come closer to Judaism, God calls them Ohavai, my love. Is that not a term that you want from God? Imagine the level that you have. Do we even understand, the level that we have over here? The Chavot al-Vavot in chapter 4, in Sha'ar B'tachon, says like this, that a person's good deed alone does not merit him a place in the next world. What does it merit him a place in the next world? When he teaches others and he guides them to go in service of God. When you teach others, that's when it's going to get you. The power that you have. And you don't even understand. Give me a few minutes while I get the question. The power that you have is so unbelievable, and we just sleep on it. We don't even realize it. You don't even realize the power that you have. The Zohar says if you would realize the power, what it is to break somebody else closer to Judaism, this is what you'll run like a crazy person for the entire life, trying to get one person to go back to Judaism. People ask you, like, why did I, get into, like, Kiruv, for example? Because I looked at it from a business perspective. I shouldn't have, but I did. I looked at it from a business perspective. Like, if you go, and there's so many people that need help. Not only people that are not religious, people that are religious, they don't know the basics. People don't know the basic stuff that you need to. There are so many people that you could help out there. And if you realize the opportunity, you could be that 10% that capitalizes on opportunity, or the 90% that snoozes through the entire thing. And by the way, people realize, like, I don't know how to do Kiruv. I don't know, what am I supposed to say? You don't even have to say anything sometimes. There are some people that are just so thirsty for learning Torah that's all you need. There was a woman, I heard this story, if I'm not mistaken, I think Rabbi Duvin Ben Chushat says a story. Says that there was a woman that called Rabbi Ben Chushat and said, listen, says I want to share with you a story. It says she had her son, that her son was going off the religious path. And she wanted to go and bring him on to the religious path, but she didn't know what to do. So she told her son, says, bring your closest friends. I'm going to make a barbecue. We're going to get the best steaks. We're going to throw a bar. We're going to have everything. You're going to have everything that you want. It's going to be amazing. So he says, free food for all my friends. Awesome. Invites his friends over. Maybe they bring us, a few extra, beverages for entertainment. And, they bring over there. But what the mother didn't say is that she also invited a rabbi to come into this barbecue. And she goes and she cooks she cooks like she never cooked before. The best steaks, the best French fries, the best everything. And she went and she, and this rabbi came. And the rabbi came. Now, what the rabbi is going to come? He's not going to come and be like, hey, do you believe in God? You don't believe going straight to the, they didn't started speaking to them about basketball, but what they enjoy, what they like. And, that's all the rabbi spoke about. Just what they like. They were in the presence of a rabbi, and that was it. It went really well. The mother said, listen, next Sunday we're making another barbecue, bring all your friends. So it was awesome. It was a great time. And the son invited all the friends, and the rabbi came back as well. This time, the rabbi didn't bring any books, nothing too intimidating, right? And he just started speaking. They started asking questions, and they started answering, like, oh, what do you think about this? What do you think about this part of it? And they started just talking very, very casually. The next week, the mother invited again. The next week, again and again and again, the kids kept on coming back until the point was that the kids were all not religious. They didn't even come for the food anymore. They came, they enjoyed. They wanted to hear the rabbi speak. Now, by the way, you should know all these 10 kids, they're married. They all are religious. Not only they're religious, they wake up early to learn Torah before they go to work, and they learn afterwards. Where did that all stem from? Inviting over, for a barbecue. It doesn't mean that you have to go and you have to do so much. It does. You invite something over invite somebody over. Even you speak to them a little bit. People are thirsty for Torah. People are thirsty for Torah. You don't even understand that I had so many people that have come to my classes, and they told me this, that they just came to make fun, to make trouble, to make problems. They enjoyed it so much, and they end up sticking around. And it was shocking to me. It was shocking to me, first of all, they told me. Because I remember one guy in particular. Every time I say this story, I always remember one guy in particular. He came over to me, afterwards, and he says, Rabbi, I want to tell you, I came over here only, first of all, it was free food, and secondly, I wanted to just break you apart. I knew religion is nothing. He says, but what you were saying was pretty interesting. So, and this guy, this is why this guy ended up opening up every single class for me. He came in not interested in learning Torah. Not only not interested, he wanted to go against it. And he ended up being the first person for times and times that, at end. People are thirsty. You're thirsty for Torah. And I want to finish with one thought that's going to answer your question that you asked earlier. This is something that I heard from Rabbi Fishel Shachter. There is a mitzvah called Hakel. Hakel is a mitzvah. The time of the Bet HaMikdash, they would go and they would invite all the men, women, and children in the Bet HaMikdash. There would be a stage, and the king would go and he would read certain parts of the Torah. Now, Rabbi Eliezer ben Azariah goes and he says, why is this all happening? To bring the reward on the people that bring them. So now listen to this very, very carefully. The women, children, and men all come to hear the Torah. Women, fine. Men, fine. But why do the children have to come? I mean, granted, if somebody has to watch them, but why do the children have to come? Says Rabbi Eliezer ben Azariah, because it brings reward for the people that bring them. Now, there was, back in time, there was a person by the name of Shaul HaMelech. He was a king, and he was in a very, very desperate situation. He was dying, he was surrounded by his enemies, the Plishtim, and he wanted, he did a sin, he didn't kill out all the Amalekim. He wanted to go and he wanted to, to find out what he needs to do. Ruach HaKodesh, he lost out. He went to Urim V'Tumim, he wanted to go and ask, no answer. He went to the prophets and the Nevi'im, no answer. He was getting very nervous, very scared. He didn't know what to do. He decided to do something that, again, is not allowed. And what did he do? He went over and he was looking for a witch. Now, he was a person that went and killed out all the witches. You're not supposed to, witchcraft and wizardry, right? You're not allowed to, according to the halakha. There was one witch that remained alive. He called this witch over, and he says, I'm not going to hurt you, I'm not going to harm you. He says, I need to ask somebody a question, but that person is no longer alive. I need you to bring them back. And he guaranteed that he wouldn't hurt her. And he brought back Shmuel Hanavi. He brought back Shmuel Hanavi. And when Shmuel was a very, very righteous man, right? And when he went to get called and summoned to this world, he got very nervous. He's like, who's calling me? He quickly calls to Moshe Rabbeinu. He calls Moshe Rabbeinu and says, come with me. Now the question is, why is Shmuel Hanavi so nervous? He was a Navi. He was such a holy person. He was on the highest level. Why is he scared of being summoned? And the answer is that people get judged at different parts in their life. And besides getting judged on Rosh Hashanah, you should know that you get judged every single night. If you have a hard time falling asleep, it could be insomnia, but it's also could be that it's a certain judgment. You get judged every single night. You get judged. There's plenty of judgment that a person has throughout the entire life. Every Friday, whatever it is, we're not going to get into all the judgments that you have, but every single year, we said the Book of Dead are getting judged. Why are they getting judged? What they left for their children and their grandchildren, even other children, their friends, their family, the people that they help them, bring them closer to Judaism or take them away further from Judaism. Whatever it is, they get judged in it. So Shmuel Hanavi was very nervous. He went and he called over Moshe Rabbeinu. And why did he call over Moshe Rabbeinu? So we have to learn a little bit about Shmuel Hanavi. we're going to go through this very, very quick, because this is a long story, a class entirely in itself. If you're not familiar with this story, just bear with me, you'll be able to understand the basics of it. Shmuel's first prophecy, he was a prophet, his first prophecy was not a good one. It was on Eli HaKohen. Eli HaKohen had children. The children were not the best type of children. They were the Kohanim, and if somebody brought a big bull, a big healthy bull, they brought him straight to the top of the line. If someone brought pigeons, all right, you could wait in there. They sort of, they weren't going into the right path. The prophecy that Shmuel Hanavi got on Eli HaKohen was not a good one, which means is that God was telling to Eli HaKohen, you better wake up, otherwise there's going to be a problem. And the prophecy was that if he doesn't correct his kid's behavior, his children will die for generations, die early. So Eli HaKohen found out that Shmuel Hanavi has a prophecy for him. So he says, why are you not telling me the prophecy? He says, I don't want to. So Eli HaKohen went and he said, if you don't tell me the prophecy, whatever happens is going to happen on your children. So he says, okay, fine. And he told him the entire prophecy, you have to correct your kids, and you have to do that. Now, that was that scenario. Now, Shmuel Hanavi's kids did not go in his path as well. They also didn't go in his path, similar to Eli HaKohen. And he was very frightened. He says, what's going to happen after I die? What's going to happen when I get judged? What am I going to do with my kids that didn't go on my path? So the answer that was given to him was that if you do what you need to do, if you do what you're supposed to do, you're not held liable. If you guided them to the right path and that was out of your control, you're not held liable. This is what Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu, Poked abanot al banim. God is going to judge the sins of the children on their fathers. Moshe Rabbeinu says that's not fair. He says, what if it's not the father's fault? If it's out of the father's hands, if they did whatever they could, they don't held responsible. This is a very, very important idea over here. And to explain it, I have to explain what the Satmar Rebbe said. The Satmar Rebbe said like this. He said that there are 3 types of souls that come into the world. One type of soul, no matter what you do to this kid is going to turn out to be a righteous kid. It's just like, one of those kids. It doesn't matter. He could be brought up in a drug, situation. He's going to be a big tzaddik. You have another type of kid, no matter what you do, this kid's going to turn out to be a rasha. Then there's going to be a third scenario where this kid is going to be depending on your chinuch, depending on the way that you upbring it. The way that you do, if you do whatever it is in your ability to do to help this child, and this child goes off, and this child does something that should not be doing, you're not held reliable. Why? Because you did what you need to do. Eliyahu Kohen now was going, and Shmuel Hanavi was very nervous. He was being summoned by Shaul HaMelech. And he said, quickly, let me go and let me bring, who did he want to bring? He wanted to bring Moshe Rabbeinu. Why? Because Moshe Rabbeinu was the one that said that if you do whatever you can do, you're not held liable. And that's what Shmuel did, everything that he could do. Now this is why they go and they say that this is why they do Hakel. Why they do Hakel? They gather all the children. Everybody comes in together to listen to the Torah. Why? Because you never know what a child is all of a sudden going to hear from one Torah class. Maybe that's going to change him. Maybe that's going to help him. For that, it's worth it. Let it be noisy. We're going to bring it over here because this is all worth it for this. Who said this? Who said that? We started off with this idea that said, who was the one that said that if you bring your children to the to Hakel, it's going to bring reward on the parents? Rabbi Eliezer ben Azariah. Who was Rabbi Eliezer ben Azariah? Gilgulav, a reincarnation. We're going super deep now, so I apologize, guys. If you're who? Shmuel Hanavi. What did Eliezer ben Azariah said? He was 18 years old when he became the Nasi. He said, I am like I am 70 years old. But I don't understand, how are you 70 years old? You're only 18 years old. If anything is going above your heads, guys, just please bear with me for a few minutes. You have to have a lot of backup for this information, but this is very, very important. He says, I am like I am 70 years old. But I don't understand, how are you 70 years old? You're 18 years old. The answer is, he remembered his previous reincarnation. Who was his previous reincarnation? Shmuel Hanavi. How old was Shmuel Hanavi when he died? 52 years old. 52 plus 18 is what? 70 years old. We have a few accountants in the room. So, 70 years old. He remembered it.
We, let's say.
Majority, some people do, majority don't. He said, why am I like I'm 70 years old? Because I am 18, but I remember my 52 years of Shmuel Hanavi, so I am like 70 years old. What did Rabbi Eliezer ben Azariah? Again, I'm telling you something that needs a tremendous amount of background detail if you don't know this, and I apologize because it's late, we cannot go into it. Maybe at a different time we'll go through all the background stories. Rabbi Eliezer ben Azariah, when he became the leader, he went and he opened the Bet Midrash. Rabbi Gamliel was the leader before him, and Rabbi Gamliel said, what does a leader mean? If you want to go learn Torah, there would be a guard at the door. If you're outside, it's not like you're inside, then you're not allowed to go in. Rabbi Eliezer ben Azariah says, no, we're going to let everybody in. Why did Rabbi Eliezer ben Azariah say we're going to let everybody in? Because you never know what one Torah class is going to do for somebody. You never know what something else is going to change somebody else's life. And this is why Rabbi Eliezer ben Azariah says we bring the children to Hakel. Why? Because Rabbi Eliezer ben Azariah was the most perfect person to say this, because he comes from Shmuel Hanavi, and Shmuel Hanavi was told, and he says that if you did everything in your power, you're not going to be held responsible for your children if they didn't go on the right path. But you have to do everything in your power. And this is a very, very important lesson. You have over here this idea that not only is your life only your life, it's also your children's life, your friend's life. You know something very interesting that I've learned throughout the period of time that I've been dealing in the public is that not only is your life not only your life, but it's also your friends around you. If somebody goes and somebody, let's say, decides they want to start smoking up weed, marijuana, guess what? The friends get sucked into that also. Somebody else decides they want to become religious, the friends also become more religious. I've seen this time and time again. When you have a group of friends that's sort of in the middle, sometimes one person leads the entire group. And that person has reward or punishment for the entire group. It's something so crazy, something so unfathomable that you don't realize it. And we'll end off with this thought. You guys all have an opportunity. And it's not just anybody in here. Anybody that ever listens to this class, even if you don't listen to this class, you still have this opportunity. You have an opportunity to earn you to become a multi-billionaire spiritually. To get you eternal rewards forever and ever. All you have to do is send the class to somebody else. Bring somebody else to Judaism closer. And it doesn't even take any effort on your part. Simply go on the worst place that you could ever go online, on Facebook, right, and share something. And you share it all of a sudden, or WhatsApp. WhatsApp is even better, I think, than Facebook. You could share to like 1,000 groups in like one shot, a Torah class. What do you think that'd be? Oh, this girl is so annoying. She sent so many classes. Okay, Grant, let somebody else think. If somebody will go and tell you, like, oh, this person is so annoying. They're always driving their Lamborghini around. They're always driving their, Bugatti around. They're always driving their Rolls Royce around. Are you going to care about that person so much? I don't think so. Right? Not so much. So why should you care that one person will say, oh, stop sending out so many classes? Who cares about that? When you could have that possibility of earning an eternal reward, but maybe one person out of all those, we're all in 1,000 WhatsApp groups, right? It's a disease. You're all in all these things. You don't know that you could send out a Torah class. You don't know that maybe one person will listen to it. You'll send it to 1,000 people, but one person will listen to it, and that one person is going to change. For that, already it's worth it. You have the opportunity. You, each and every single one of us, not only you, me included, we have the opportunity to change the world and not even know anything about Judaism. You could be the 10% that goes and capitalizes on it, or you could be the 90% that goes and snoozes in it and does nothing else with their life and falls asleep and just loses the entire internal reward, the ability. And the biggest kicker is after 120, you're going to kick yourself so hard of what I couldn't accomplish. I didn't even need to do anything. We have the power. Why do we have the power now? Because Mashiach is at the door. And I'll tell you something. The people are going to become religious whether it's through you or not. The question is going to be, you're going to be the messenger or somebody else is going to be the messenger. There are plenty of people nowadays that are capitalizing on it. And I know them. I know them personally. They are capitalizing on it. They're going and they're doing Kiruv and they're doing chanting, plenty of things. The question is, are you going to jump on the wagon? Are you going to become that multi-billionaire spiritually? Or are you going to fall asleep and you become the 90% that doesn't do anything? Any questions?
Does Kiruv also apply to people that are from
100,000 million billion gazillion Google %? Many people that are from need more Kiruv than people that are not from. I'll be honest with you. There are many people that and if you realize the topics that I deal with, that is what I'm catered to. I'm catered to not only the people that have never been religious, people that have been religious from birth, just don't know the right path of the Torah. They don't know they don't realize the beauty of it. They don't realize the power of it. They don't realize the depth of it.
Also, my other question.
Yes, you had a question and answer.
Let's say, if your family isn't religious, how do you help them come from that?
So every scenario,
especially if they're very
against it. So I'll tell you like this: every scenario you have to deal with very carefully, and every scenario has to dealt with on a one-on-one basis. I cannot tell you one answer will answer anything, but you have family. Also, you have to be very, very careful because it's very hard to convince family.
Yeah.
Family, it's easier to convince somebody that's not your family than your family. But if you do it right, number one, lead by example. Become a better person. Become a better person. I know somebody who became religious. Why? Because someone in their family became religious and they were just a nicer person. And that's it. They didn't teach them anything about Judaism. They were just a nice person, a mensch. They were like that. But you go and you invite them into class. You host a Torah class in your house. I've had people that their parents are not religious, but they hosted a Torah class in their house. And I spoke about the topic that they asked me to speak about, whatever it was.
Also, if let's say
thank you.
The person, let's say, was kind of from growing up, then left it, and then in their own way tried to do Jewish things, and then their son became from. Did they get?
Depends if they had a part of that, then yes. But if they did not, if let's say they sent
they took their son to reform temples.
That's not doing the right thing. That's not doing the right thing.
No,
you could pick it up. You could pick it up. No, it's fine.
That was the best thing to do.
Right. You did an excellent job, by the way. It was excellent. So, if first of all, sending the kids to reform school does not mean that you're going to, that.
No. Temple, on Shabbos.
It's only God knows this thing. But you have to do what you need to do. Is it count? I would like to say yes, but I have a feeling no. Because reform, you're not even going to a reform temple. You're not allowed to. It's they distort Judaism. It's not the true Judaism. They make their own. It's really a new religion. It's not, they really have almost nothing to do with Judaism. They read the Torah, so do Christians.
Right.
So do Muslims also, Old Testament. So but they distort it. It's a very big problem. Good. You had a question, right?
That was actually about leading by example, specifically with family.
Yeah, family is very, but it has to be, again, it's a case-by-case scenario. If you present me the particular case, I'll tell you more or less what I would feel the best thing to do. It's not always, some family, it's better to give space. Some family, it's better to go and bring to a Torah class. It depends on the personality. It depends on a lot of things. You have to be smart in this thing. Like any business, you have to be smart when you go into it. You have to study the situation. You have to figure out what's going to be the best option, and then you have to work on it like that. So personality comes into effect of it. The previous relationship with Judaism has to come into effect of it. There's so many other aspects that have to come in effect.
Just practically, say your family comes over and they eat a kosher meal at your house, and they otherwise wouldn't, but they don't know.
It still counts. What you should do is if they're not going to make a blessing, say you're going to make a blessing aloud, they just say amen or something like that. Yeah. You could if you do it the right way, you could cater anything. Anything that you do in your life, you could get reward for it or you could get punished for it. Sleeping, you could get reward for sleeping. You go to sleep before you sleep and say, I'm sleeping, God, so I could do your will tomorrow. I'll have the energy, you get reward for that sleep. You go to sleep saying, okay, I'm sleeping so I could go tomorrow and I could, watch a rerun of all the TV shows that I missed, Leilu Nishmat, my grandparents, whatever it is that you're doing. All that, you're not getting reward for the sleep. Every single thing that you do in this world, whether it's physical or spiritual, you could cater it towards the spirituality, you could cater it toward the physical side.
Also, I asked before, if that person gets very angry, even if that person will ask you and say, I'm so sad, whatever, and then you'll say prayer helped me, and then the person gets very, very angry all the time. What do you do?
The best thing is, if it's not working, get somebody else to speak to them, not you.
Okay.
Get it from a different angle. So I get this all the time, and I gladly do this. People bring me to class, bring a certain person to the class. I speak to them afterwards. I've had, last week I just had a long 2-hour debate with somebody.
Wow.
I do that all the time. Bring it to someone, that's interested. They'll be able to speak to them, try to speak to them on a personal level, on an interpersonal level, something that they'll be able to relate to.
Yeah.
If you feel that you're hitting a block, reach out to somebody who does this, who knows how to do this, and they could guide you towards, possibly a right path. But the number one thing that you should do is pray for that person.
Yeah.
You have to pray for that person.
I do.
That's good. Any other questions?
Yeah,
You should.
I think you touched on her question, but how do you deal with parents or family members that are split?
Yeah.
Cynical comments?
So that's a very, very hard situation, especially when the parents are, not only are they not interested, they're against it. Or family members are against it. Yeah, they'll fight you on it.
You get
So
very threatened by everything.
right. So that type of scenarios are again, they're all case by case. But I'll tell you a general rule of it. This is usually family members. The best and easiest way, you can nip this in the bud in almost anything, but it's hard on the person to do it. Put yourself vulnerable to them. You go to them and say, listen, mom, dad, brother, sister, whatever, I love you very much and I understand what you're saying. And I know you love me, I know you care about me. This makes me happy. This is really what I want. I can really see the truth in this. And I'm really asking you to please support me through what I'm going through with that. You should know, the more vulnerable you make to your parents, the less fight you're going to get from them. No parents can be like, well, I don't care, I don't want your happiness, I want to be, this thing. No one's going to do that. Parent only cares for the best of their child. Why do they drag you away from that? Because they feel this is not your best. But if they realize this is your best, they're going to stand by you no matter what. So the easiest way, but it's hard. It's hard to be vulnerable. It's very hard to open up and very hard to say, listen, I love you. It's what I tell people that are getting married and the parents want to have a mixed wedding. If you go to your parents and they want a mixed wedding and you tell them, mom and dad, I love you and I appreciate everything that you're doing and everything that you do for this wedding, but this is going to make me so happy and I'm begging of you. The more vulnerable that you make yourself to them, they're not going to say no to the little girl, the little boy. They're not going to say that. Depends how vulnerable you get.
Yeah, we had that situation.
Yeah. I've had scenarios before. I had a girl, they used to come to this class. She and her, I used to teach her and I used to teach her husband. In the men's class, she went and she presented both to their parents with tears. She said she had tears in her eyes. Her parents were very adamant against mixed dancing. Wanted a mixed dancing wedding. She went with tears in her eyes. I was by the wedding. There was a mechitza over there.
Wow.
Right? And they had parents over there.
But it's okay if you have mixed eating. Some people say, oh no.
Yeah, again, everybody by itself, right.
I know you
You could always compromise. And I tell this all the time to people. Compromise by all means. If you can't do that, have mixed eating, but don't have mixed dancing. Mixed dancing is no compromise. You're not allowed. Yeah.
When you down for someone else, you get answered first. How
Yeah.
much truth is it to that? Because I down for somebody to get engaged, and I really meant it seriously.
And they got engaged first.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you like this.
There's probably so many different.
There's so many different venues that come into factor.
How is it?
It's 100% true, but again, you have to figure out that there's a lot more factors that. So the question was, I keep on forgetting this. You guys have to remind us. When people ask questions, they ask me online. They keep on emailing me to repeat the question so they can understand it. The question is like this. The question is an excellent question. What happens if you daven for somebody, and you pray for somebody, and you say you're supposed to get an answer first, and you see the other person got answered first? And the answer is yes. Sometimes you'll see that. Why? Because there are 1,000 different factors, 1,000 different variables that come into play in here. First of all, let's say you pray for somebody that they should get married. They could have been, they're destined to get married before you. They were supposed to get married before you. They had 1,000 different, variables that went and forgot. Doesn't mean that your prayer isn't going to answer.
It could be would have been that or getting married.
There's so many answers. I could give exactly. You don't know, and the answer is really you don't know the alternative. Let's say somebody unfortunately was praying and they were supposed to get married when they were 35, and because of that, now they're getting married at 25 instead of 35. You can't compare. You don't know the alternative. You really don't know. But one thing is for sure: the prayer gets answered. The prayer will get answered. It doesn't mean that it's going to get answered on your terms, but it's going to get answered. Which is good. Continue doing that. Any other questions?
Her prayers were answered.
Her prayers are answered. Yeah.
Like this is like different, but if you're praying for like a person and you see them like a lot, whatever, and like, how do I know that I'm like that my like prayers are making any like difference? You can't see it so much.
This is a topic that I want to B'ezrat Hashem speak about prayer. People have a very hard time with prayer. They feel like they're talking to nobody. They're talking to a wall.
I don't have that like
excellent.
As much.
So
Just my question.
every single prayer gets answered. The answer sometimes might be no or not now, or the answer might be yes. But every single prayer is heard. Some prayers are put on hold until there's a lot of different variables.
Let us know that it could have been worse had you not prayed this amount.
You could do that if you open up any newspaper. You do that. There's some people, let's say, that are dying to buy a house. There's some people that are going and they're dying to get married. But then you see so many cases that people have a disgusting divorce. People have unfortunate, untimely deaths. People have so many other problems with the law, with so many problems. How do you know? You don't know what you could see the alternative if you just open your eyes.
Know that, but still, just like I'm like praying so hard, and it's just like not even a dent in like.
How do you know?
I don't know, but like.
So that's what I'm saying. You don't know.
I want to see something. You know what I mean? Like something that you're listening. You just like.
And if you look deep, you will find it. You'll find that your prayers are getting answered if you just look a little bit. Open your eyes on the way home tonight. Just think about it. Think about what you prayed for. Think about it. Let's say if it's marriage, think about the dates that you've been getting. Some people are dating way off topic, way off hand. And all of a sudden they're getting something closer to the thing. If you think about it, you'll see that your prayers are answered. But you have to open your mind and you have to think about it. And I guarantee you, 99.9% of the time, you'll find, oh yeah, you know what? That did help over here. And all of a sudden, it is a little bit easier for me. Even just emotionally, it's easier for me. Even just, this. There are so many answers that I could give you, but you could give yourself the own answers if you just open your eyes.
A guy I listened to
me?
says that
If any, let's see how many people go and come to you.
It's like for that thing you need like 20 to 30 prayers, or it's like if that prayer will be like answered today, tomorrow, 5 months, or 5 weeks. So like you can't like ever.
You never know. You really never know. Any other questions before we close it? No other questions? I really can't emphasize this enough. The power that every one of you have to do and help other Jews is nowadays like it has never been before in the history of the world. Don't misuse this opportunity. Don't let this opportunity go by. Capitalize in it big, because you guys can make a tremendous dent. And if you think about it, if you make somebody religious and then that person starts making somebody religious, it's not a pyramid scheme, right? This goes on for eternity. The amount, don't mess it up. All right. Hazak Baruch.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.